What's up guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here then welcome to our little corner of the internet. It's been a while since I've watched a Lost in the Pond video, so I'm excited to dive back into his channel. Today we're going to be watching a video titled 6 Wild Facts About America That Sound Made Up But Aren't. Let's see what this video is about.
Hi, over the last 11 years I've been doing this YouTube channel in which I talk about my life in America as a British person. But some of the things that I've found in my research over the years are so mind-boggling that I've saved them all for this video. 6 wild facts about the United States that sound made up but aren't. Since I moved to America I've been very fortunate to visit several states, and one of those states is Ohio. And when I was there many years ago I got to visit the Air Force Museum in Dayton. And as somebody who is a certified pilot, albeit of drones, I was absolutely fascinated by this place. They had former Air Force Ones in there, but the really wild fact that I took away from this is the amount of renowned astronauts that were born in the state. Like, I'm a big space enthusiast and I'm very aware that America has contributed largely to the space endeavors of humans, but Ohio has produced so many well-known astronauts.
Really?
First of all, only John Bloody Glenn.
This is actually so interesting. Why though? Like, I wonder if different careers come from different parts of the world. Well, probably yeah, because of the culture and everything. But why astronauts in Ohio? Why?
The third American in space, who much later became the oldest man in space before he was completely bested, improbably, by William Shatner. Oh man, Charles Bassett. He was one of NASA's earlier astronauts, but he died in a plane crash while training for his first space flight. Wow, Ohio really has seen tragedy. Judith Resnick, she was the second American woman in space, but I think most people know her picture because she was also a victim of the Challenger disaster. Yeah, it's still really sad. But then there's Jim Lovell, who heroically, of course, piloted the stricken Apollo 13 spacecraft back to Earth while dressed as Tom Hanks. And finally, perhaps the most famous astronaut of all, Neil Armstrong. He was born in Washington Township, Ohio, a place with only slightly more humans than the moon itself. But for me, it gets even more fascinating when you consider the fact that Ohio was the birthplace of one of the Wright brothers, the brothers who became the first people to successfully fly an airplane. Early astronauts overwhelmingly started out as...
See? That's interesting. My dad just came for a visit, but as I was saying, super interesting that like there's a lot of astronauts and like people who like to fly in Ohio. I wonder where that comes from, or if it's something like, or if it's just a mere coincidence.
Airplane. Early astronauts overwhelmingly started out as aircraft pilots, so you could say that without the Wright brothers there would be no John Glenn. I mean, he would have been born, but he wouldn't have gone into space. When I was a child, I was a massive fan of Nintendo, specifically the Mario Brothers games, and you might be thinking, ooh, Lawrence, what's that got to do with this video? Nintendo is Japanese. This is a video about American facts. I know that. Shh. Point is, the US military nearly wiped out Nintendo. What? Yeah. And you might think, oh my gosh, the 80s, when World War III nearly broke out over a joke. Actually, no. You might be surprised to hear that this incident almost happened as long ago as 1945. Why would that be weird?
Wow, look at that shot.
This incident almost happened as long ago.
That's cool.
As 1945. Why would that be weird? Well, because in our eyes and ears and mouth and nose, Nintendo surely wasn't around in 1945. Yes, it was. And in fact, Nintendo the company was formed in 1889, because by 1945, Nintendo, which at that point, of course, was not a computer games company, but just a sort of games company generally, was based in the Japanese city of Kyoto. Well, anybody who knows their World War II history knows that Kyoto was seriously floated as a city that the United States was going to drop one of the big nuclear bombs on before it decided on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And while I do not wish to downplay the seriousness of those historic events, it is true that Kyoto itself could have been wiped out, and with it, the entire company of Nintendo, which would later go on to launch the Nintendo...
Okay, this is like a thing that you wouldn't think about or connect the dots maybe if you didn't hear it from somewhere like Lawrence, but that's actually crazy. The whole world would have been different, literally. Well, I mean, that's something that I think about a lot. Now it comes to my highs. A lot of people think that I smoke, by the way, and I'm high. I'm not. I am not. It's just, I just can't help it. I'm a little, you know, but a lot of the times I think like if you, for example, walk on the street and you cross the street and someone has to like stop and wait for you to cross the street, their whole day is now going to be different because the people they're going to bump into, maybe like everything changes from such small things, you know. Or if I got up today like an hour later, not, or a minute later or 2 minutes later, I might have gotten hit by a car. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. This is obviously a different scale of things, but just saying.
Entertainment system in the 1980s, which would be an enormous source of entertainment for children of the time, including myself. Thankfully, history ran its natural course and I still get to play video games and get paid for it. And I know what you're thinking, ooh, Lawrence, I didn't know you were a pro gamer. Well, I'm not. I just happen to use Free Cash. Free Cash is an app where you can earn real money by playing games, getting your first offer.
Sorry, Lawrence.
A lot of people have asked me, Lawrence, how did you spend the 250th anniversary of the United States? Well, I largely stayed at home and watched festivities on the TV, but while I was doing that, I was thinking something to myself, which is this. While humans have lived on the continent of North America for tens of thousands of years, it's never escaped my attention while doing this channel that America is still a very, very young country. And yet, so many historic events have occurred in that time, and so when you live here, you get aware of both of those things. Firstly, just how crazy history has been, but in such a short amount of time. And this really hit home during a recent particular event. No, not the 250th anniversary, but the 100th birthday of film director Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks, of course, has directed many legendary parody films from Young Frankenstein to Robin Hood Men in Tights, which largely pokes fun at Kevin Costner. But while I was reading about his 100th birthday, it was pointed out to me online that because he was born just weeks before the 250th anniversary of the United States, that meant that he was born closer to the lives of the second and third president of the United States than he was to the present day. And I love playing around with time like that. Like, Mel Brooks was also someone who lived at the same time as Wyatt Earp. In fact, Wyatt Earp lived almost long enough to experience the Great Depression. He missed out on it by a few months. Actually, that's probably good.
Yeah, that's crazy. Sometimes also like when I hear about like, for example, Albert Einstein lived at the same time as this person, I'm like, what? How, like what? No correlation in my brain whatsoever.
Good for him.
Look at the bee.
There are some things about life in America that seem so commonplace that you just think, oh, they've always been around. There's no way that this wasn't a thing in the past and is now. But that is true of dandelions. Across much of the United States, and certainly here in Chicago, when spring rolls up, you better believe those dandelions do the very same. Well, they don't roll, they spring out of the ground. And then they turn into fluffy balls and end up your nose. But dandelions have only been in this country for about 400 years. Prior to the 17th century, the land that would become the United States boasted about as many dandelions as it did people called Richard. That is to say, none. And so now you're asking, did they just magically appear? And to that I ask, what, Richards or dandelions? In either case, there's
Both.
evidence to suggest that both were brought here intentionally on the appropriately named Mayflower in 1620, with European settlers continuing to bring dandelion seeds thereafter for their medicinal qualities. From here, they spread across the country. And so, depending on how you feel about dandelions, you have us Europeans to thank and or hold responsible.
I do like dandelions.
Now earlier I
I like flowers in general.
alluded to the fact that humans have been in North America for tens of thousands of years. Wild. But how many tens of thousands of years is my question? Well, we actually have what we think is an answer. Because earlier this century, archaeologists in New Mexico discovered evidence of humans dating back 21 to 23,000 years. What was this evidence? Footprints. Back in 2009,
Oh my god, that makes my stomach twirl. I would so love to touch the footprint. I know it sounds weird, but like, isn't that incredible? Also, why are their toes so long? And flat.
fossilized footprints were discovered at White Sands National Park. Through radiocarbon dating, they were able to tell that these footprints went all the way back to roughly 19,000 BC. And just as Ohio gave us all of those astronauts, it's almost like New Mexico is the place that has mind-blowing discoveries that make us rethink the universe. Like Roswell, was that aliens or was it human time travelers from the future?
Whoa. Wait, human time travel is from the future? No. No. But to give me a what if I'm a time traveler in the future? What if I'm watching myself right now from somewhere and I can't see myself because I'm time traveling from the future, but I can't talk to myself? That would be crazy. No, 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 no. I'm about to end up in the mental hospital because of this video.
Of course, today, as of its 250th anniversary, America is home to about 350 million people. So in your head, you're thinking, well, gosh, the whole country must be absolutely overloaded with human activity. But that's the thing about living here. You start to realize after a while that the populations are not evenly dispersed throughout the country. Take, for example, New Jersey, which is this state shaped like an S, which stands for, I'll let New Jerseyans answer that. But even though New Jersey is about 11 times smaller than the United Kingdom, it is nonetheless home to almost 10 million people, which makes it the most densely populated state in America.
That's a
and that
lot.
isn't the mind-blowing fact here, because a lot of those people are commuting to New York City and other nearby huge cities. The mind-blowing part is that it has more people than the following huge states: Alaska, Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, New Mexico, and Idaho. And if you're thinking, well, it's not that surprising that it's got more people than each of those states, then you fundamentally misunderstood what I just said. It has more people than all of those states put together. And if it's not clear how absurd that is from this map alone, let me put it like this. All of these states put together is almost 14 times the size of the United Kingdom and 170 times the size of New Jersey. So America is a constantly surprising place, which is one of the things that I absolutely love about it. And with that, here's to the next 250 years. Thanks again to Free Cash for sponsoring this video, and a reminder that you can sign up by clicking the link in the description or by scanning the QR code. And until next time, keep binging. Hi.
Absolutely. I mean, America is a place that just keeps on giving. I've had this channel for a while now. I've done over 1,000 videos, I think, by now. Well, actually, I've had it for exactly maybe 10 months now. That's crazy. It's soon my 1-year anniversary on YouTube. I cannot believe it. I can't believe it's been a year almost. That's just crazy. Wow. But yeah, and that's why like it just keeps giving me things to think about. But thank you guys for joining me for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below if you knew any of these facts. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you guys in the next video.